NYSE is quickly approaching, and I want to win a Black Lotus. So it's time for some more Doomsday practice. Okay, welcome back, Vintage Gamers, to a on-stream challenge event. I'm going to run back Flow State Doomsday. I was pretty impressed in our 5-0 league, and Doomsday is one of the decks I consider to be in my repertoire to take to any high-end tournament. And if Doomsday can fix its Frog matchup to a reasonable degree, then it's certainly a deck I want to be able to consider for NYSE, Land Run, and Eternal Weekend. With that being said, I don't know that Flow State really does that, but I will say that I think Doomsday has quietly still been one of the best decks in Vintage throughout the last few years, and I think it just suffers from like not having enough pilots because the deck is still really stupid strong. Like the 5-0 league, I just kind of rolled people over with how good the deck was. So what I've done is I'm doing two tests today. One, I swapped the Lotus Petal flex slot for a Thoughtseize because I felt like I really wanted to have a discard spell in my deck in a couple Doomsday piles that I played with. And Lotus Petal, I think, is the weakest flex slot. So I'm going to try to put a Thoughtseize. I'm choosing Thoughtseize over something like Duress because there are a lot of creatures that matter in Vintage right now. Especially when you're not building it in a pile and you're just like casting it on turn one. You want to be able to take like Archon of Emeria or Frog or something like that. So like I think Thoughtseize makes more sense than Duress in the state of current Vintage. And then the other major change is I'm swapping out the Preordains for Considers. This is a change that Eric did and 5-0'd with, and I think it makes a lot of sense. I asked him if it was like a personal preference thing or actually, based on flow state. And he said a little bit of both. Consider is a card that's been played in Doomsday in the past, famously in the Murktide Regent pivot plan from Bryant Cook's Eternal Weekend list at one point. One of the nice things about Consider here is it's an instant, so you don't have to fetch right away. It's an instant, so you don't have to fetch right away, and it's an instant to help like balance out your instant sorcery count for flow state. And it's also a non-reactive instant. A Dark Ritual is obviously not a non-reactive instant as well, but you can get this without like having an opponent to have cast a spell where Force of Will or Daze or those kind of things. They're usually reactive instants. And it also can put cards into the yard. So if you cast this and then mill over one of your many sorceries with Consider, then you automatically have turned on flow state for turn 2. So it does enable, of course, more delve spells, but I'm currently only playing the one dig through time. I could absolutely play Murktides or other delve creatures in the sideboard. I'm just choosing not to because I'm not sure it's the right metagame for that. But if you wanted to, this would help enable things like Murktide Regent in the sideboard. As of the sideboard, I kept the same sideboard from my league where, I don't know, I really like 2 Null Rod. I think having an extra Flux here for the Sphere Shops matchups makes a lot of sense. I'm not really super keen on the removal sweep, but it seems fine. And then having the shore up the dredge matchup with those 5 slots seems like it makes a lot of sense as well. I'm pretty happy with the sideboard, but sideboard is probably the place where it could use the most work, though the main board is the one that is the farthest away from stock Doomsday, because I had to trim so many flex slots to fit in for flow states. We have a very, very straightforward list, lots of 4-ofs, which is basically 4-ofs and restricted cards, and then the very few flex slots that I do have are like the Chain, some number of Flusterstorms, the Thoughtseize, etc. And again, we don't know that 4 flow state is the right number of flow state. It might be something like 2 flow state is the right number, but I think they do compound themselves and get better in multiple copies, and we're still testing it. So I think playing 4 for now makes a lot of sense as we move forward and see how does flow state affect Doomsday in Vintage, and how does flow state affect Vintage in general. We're starting to see flow state pop up in Frog lists. Does that help Frog play a longer game plan against stock up decks? That's yet to be determined, but it certainly seems like it might. So we'll have to see how this develops over the coming months as we move towards NYSE, which is in a month or so, and Land Run, which is in 2 months or so, and Eternal Weekend at the end of the year. I will see you for round 1 of this live on stream Doomsday Challenge. I am happy to announce the dates for high stakes proxy friendly Vintage in 2026. The legendary NYSE returns to Long Island in New York on June 6th. This $500 entry fee tournament will pay out 8 pieces of unlimited power. The Oklahoma Land Run returns in 2026 on July 10th through 12th at the Reed Convention Center in Oklahoma City. Play Friday Team Trios, Saturday Legacy for a Mox Sapphire, and Sunday Vintage for a Mox Emerald. Event links can be found in the description below. I hope to see you there. Let's battle. All right, round 1 versus possible Sphere Shop's opponent. I have a Force and a Flow State and a bunch of lands, which seems totally reasonable against possible Sphere Shops. So this is a hard matchup. I would say Wasteland-based Workshops is one of the tough matchups for Doomsday currently. So we'll see. One thing that's nice about this hand is I do get to go fetch land, pass, and get my Undercity Sewers. Very powerful. I just did the intro, but we're playing 4 Considers instead of 4 Preordains, and I'm playing a Thoughtseize instead of a Petal. Just testing. But same core. I don't consider Consider to be much different than Preordain, but I think it might help balance out the instant sorcery count and give us a little bit more versatility in turn 1. And it also enables Flow State better. Just at its core, Surveil enables Flow State better than Preordain. So I will say, if I am going to play Consider, I might want to try to fit that Cruise back in the deck. Just because we'll be filling up the yard a lot faster. Opponent is here. Opponent just mulliganed to 6, so I don't know when they're going to choose their hand, but they are also double queuing a pre-modern match, so. Well, I mean, this is like the classic conundrum, right, Winmore? When your opponent doesn't reveal Lurrus, you are incentivized to have a Force of Will hand, because Force of Will is going to help you beat all of the broken starts, except for Dredge. So you are like, oh man, my hand's pretty good if my opponent is not on Dredge, but if my opponent's on Dredge, this hand is obviously terrible. And this hand isn't even that good if my opponent is not on Dredge. It's just okay. But the thing that this hand does have against a pot, one of the things that opponent can have here are Wastelands, and this hand is quite good against Wastelands. So, and I think, building out your mana is one of the most important things in this matchup, because you need to be able to cast your cantrips. It looks like my opponent is on Oath, though. This is not a bad hand versus Oath by any means. Too many lands, though. Ponder's great. Doomsday, Street Wraith, Ponder. So we have a protected turn 2 Doomsday into a Gush pile if we just don't take the Ponder. Okay. We actually have a really nice thing here where we don't even have to counter our opponent's Oath, because we're going to try to kill them on the next turn. And now we don't have to use this Doomsday. So this is like the thing, like the Flow State doesn't really change your core deck. It just gives you like a late game insurance policy, where like lots of games the Flow State never happens and doesn't matter. But the games where it does happen are really good. So here's a cool thing. Because Oath is a delayed combo, we're just going to let this go. And then we're going to use our Force to protect our Doomsday combo. We have a pretty straightforward Gush pile here. Doomsday, Street Wraith, Gush, Lotus Oracle, with Force and Misstep backup. Not that Misstep does a lot here. So my opponent has double Force, they win. If they don't, they probably lose. This is an extremely good matchup for Doomsday, typically. Oath being a slower combo deck and not having a high level of permission. So our pile is core level going to be, I mean, I guess, can I build it to be double? So I could go Gush Ancestral. No, not Gush Ancestral. So I think just Gush Lotus Oracle and then another Oracle underneath it if that doesn't work out. Force pitching Atraxa. Force pitching Flow State. Yep, Oath has been performing really well. So it makes sense for people to see more Oath. Oath has had a really strong last 2 weeks or so. Maybe last 3 weeks. So basic Gush pile here. Street Wraith down to 4. Gush down to 2. Gush. Lotus. Oracle. And then afterwards, I'll put another Oracle just in case something really crazy happens. I don't know what could happen. And then at the end of all of that, I can put another Doomsday, but I don't think we're going to get to that point. I could put a Force at the bottom to confuse my opponent. Don't think that's necessary. I don't think a Chain particularly helps. I don't think the last card here matters. My opponent, like, countered Gush for some reason. I would just lose, but I mean, they wouldn't let Doomsday resolve and then counter Gush, right? So let's just do this. Done. And then last card, Doomsday. Second to last card, Oracle. Lotus, Oracle, Gush. Street Wraith. Gush. Lotus. Oracle. Basically perfect play here. Exactly what we wanted to do. I would be willing to entertain that there's a some kind of corner case pile that we can get better there, but for the most part, I think that's just fine. So we're up against Show and Tell Oath. I like to have Mindbreak Trap, even though I don't actually think it's particularly good against my opponent's deck. I think it's just an upgraded card for the matchup. Flux doesn't do anything. I don't really like Null Rod. Maybe on the play, you could theoretically get away with Null Rod. If these Steel Sabotages were consigns, I think you could theoretically bring them in to stop Atraxa trigger and give you a whole turn. But I put Steel Sabotages in instead, just because of the uptick of Sphere Shops. All of these removal spells are bad. All of these Leylines are bad. And all of these Tabernacles are bad. The good news is we are considerably pre-boarded for this matchup, in that we are pre-boarded for blue matchups. What we can do is take out the island and put in a Mindbreak Trap and just run it back. So if I did have consigns instead of Steel Sabotages, would I bring them in? And if I were to bring them in, what would I bring them in over? I have no idea. Probably just wouldn't bring them in, to be honest with you. Kind of like one of the strengths of decks like Doomsday and to some extent the Sean Breach Gifts deck. You are very pre-boarded for blue. Especially like generic blue, non-combo, or not non-combo, but like non-frog blue. No creature blue, I should say. That's kind of the more accurate, I guess. Yeah. I guess my opponent could have so if my opponent had Mindbreak Trap, the Doomsday was spell number 1, the Force, and I forced back on spell number 2. So I guess if I wanted to build a pile that beats Mindbreak Trap in game 1 there, game 1 Mindbreak Trap from Show and Tell Oath doesn't make any sense. But if they did have Mindbreak Trap, you could make a better pile, not a pile that can beat the Mindbreak Trap, but a pile that plays to the next turn better. With like Time Walk probably. If you built a pile that was like Gush, or maybe like Street Wraiths or something like that. Something that let you like, so like if your pile was maybe Wraith, and then the Gush pile. Sorry, 1 Wraith and then the Gush pile. Then you're 1 card deeper. And then you can draw into the Oracle and cast it on the turn after. So like, I think if you wanted to build a pile to beat Mindbreak Trap in game 1 against Show and Tell Oath, you probably could there. Not beat it, but like give you a second chance. Because opponent is going to counter your spell and then untap and put an Atraxa in play and probably get another counter, and you'll probably lose. But you can make a pile that's better against it, I think. And to be fair, like making a pile that's better against Mindbreak Trap there is probably just 100% correct to do, because there's no downside, right? Because opponent probably has nothing, but if they do have something. Anyways, this is a force hand we're keeping. But like again, like stressing over that is not exactly a great use of brain power. And you need all the brain power you can keep. But it is like the thing that a lot of Doomsday players will talk about, where most of the time your basic pile is going to get you like 95% of the way. In this case, probably more like 99% of the way. But if you want to take the extra time and figure out something that fills the last 1%, you can do that. And to be fair here, it doesn't actually fill the last 1%. I don't think there's anything that will like guarantee you can beat Mindbreak Trap, but there will be piles that give you a better chance of beating Mindbreak Trap. It's also really seldom that like Mindbreak Trap is not turned on when you like force a force on your Doomsday. The fact that it was like just a 3-mana hardcast Doomsday is not, I would say, like not odd, but not common. I don't particularly think Mental Misstep is like amazing against Show and Tell Oath, but it can be good depending on what kind of cards they have. If they have like Thoughtseizes or Veils. This hand looks like a flow state gets pitched to force, because we want to play 1-mana cantrip here. 1-mana cantrip looks for like land Street Wraith, so that I can go Doomsday, Lotus, Doomsday, land, Mnemonic Tutor, Lotus, Doomsday, Street Wraith win. Mental Misstep's pretty good against Ancestral if that's what they have here. That's not what they have. Flow states. Ponder. Ugh. Perfect Information is interesting. Guaranteeing a land drop next turn isn't bad, but Sewers is definitely worse than a land drop, but it's better than no land drop. And no land drop is something I risk if I choose to shuffle here. And I don't think I'm willing to risk missing a land drop, so I'm going to just go with Sewers as my third down, probing into a blue card and seeing my opponent's hand. Atraxa, Force, Orchard Oko. Okay. Interesting hand. Certainly slow hand. Definitely not going to punish us. Interesting. They have Ponder. Okay, I will snap off a misstep on this Ponder. Feels like good value. So they still have double force. What is my top card? Another Doomsday. That doesn't seem necessary. We'll see. Like, my opponent just jams a Oko here. How much do we care? Not enough to force it, obviously. But if they draw like an Oath or an Show and Tell, we're in a pretty bad place where our opponent has extremely heavy counter matchup. Looks like it's an Oko. I'm just gonna let that go. I don't think it's something worth fighting over. Well, let's think about this for a second. I kind of want to get myself into a flow state. So what does the exchange here look like? If I force and they don't force, I'm untapping with a bunch of cantrips and they have, say, 2 forces or 1.5 forces. If I force and they force, I'm untapping with a bunch of cantrips and they only have 1 force. I'm not saying flow state needs to be turned on, chat. I'm saying we have flow state as a game plan. Chat said turn on flow state. No, we did that with mental misstep. I'm just talking about like how the game plays out, and I think the game plays out a lot smoother for me if I don't have a clock in play, and I don't know that this force particularly is a huge deal. I'm gonna force this pitching one of my flow states, I think. Just because I'm not really close to forcing through a Doomsday kill, right? If I could, like, power through a Doomsday kill with this force, then I think I would, but... My opponent's deck is not very good at top decking. I have a lot more going on. I don't really want to gush, because I want to just build out my mana base. So I'm just going to cast Flow State. Now, if this gets countered, then I'll probably gush, because it's just... Wow, okay, really? Force pitching Atraxa, leaving my opponent with Force and Unknown. Okay, I'm going to gush, because I'm going to miss my land drop if I don't, so I might as well. Dark Ritual. And Oracle Consult. Interesting. I'm thinking about, what about Ritual C Doomsday here? I mean, even if they don't have a blue card and it resolves, they can untap next turn and have a blue card, and then how am I playing through? I'm just like playing a slow game. I feel like it's good. It's very odd, but it feels like it's good. I think they have a blue card because they wouldn't force flow state without a blue card for the second force, right? I could go Demonic Lotus and go Oracle Consult, but like, aren't we putting our opponent on having a blue card here? In what world would you ever force the flow state if you didn't have another blue card? So I'm kind of hoping to just go like Dark Ritual Doomsday, get it forced, put my opponent to 0 cards, and then play towards Oracle Console. Yeah, I read this completely correctly. Force pitching misstep. So now my opponent has 0 cards. Their best draw is Oath and Ancestral. And I'm sitting here with a win when I get to 3 mana. And I also just got a misstep out of their hand, chat. If you had gone for, or wow, actually, them not misstepping Dark Ritual is very, very odd. I don't know. I think I would have misstepped Dark Ritual. Thoughtseize. Let me see what my top card is. Force. Just gonna bin Force. Thoughtseize my opponent and try to draw a land. All right, they have a Besiege you. Okay. I just think you can make the read because my opponent forced flow state that they have another force available. Dark Ritual. So now we do have to do the play where I Dark Ritual for a Lotus to win the game on the spot, which I think is fine. They draw Mindbreak Trap. Vintage is in a great spot. A good data pie. All right. I think we successfully navigated around a bunch of mistakes that you could make as a Doomsday player in this game, and are rewarded with a win. Opponent played really aggressively here. I don't think they're allowed to force flow state. I understand the why you would want to force flow state, but I feel like it's just so bad. Yeah, cool. I mean, this deck is so good. Okay, onward to round 2. Our opponent is the Esper Turbo Vault Key Lurrus player with Oswald. And they know our deck because they were in the stream. And we have a hand that is unfortunately lacking mana. To a degree that I'm probably just have to put this back no matter what. Because I don't really have a straightforward way to play this game out. And even if I drew like a Doomsday, I wouldn't be able to like do anything meaningful with it. So I'm just gonna mulligan this hand. This hand seems a lot stronger. So keep this. And then, I mean, I kind of like the idea of just DTing for Oracle Consult and trying to win on turn 2. That feels like the best play to me. This gives me openings to draw Force by keeping Ponder. They know the jig is up here, so... Mana Crypt. That's not nice. That's kind of scary. If I was in my other hand, I think I would have forced the Mana Crypt, probably. I feel like Mana Crypt is the key to Lurrus PO. If you don't have Mana Crypt, I feel like it's pretty bad. Jesus. Vexing Bauble is also pretty good here. Street Wraith. I think we're just dead. Both of our Moxen. Seems bad for me. I think we're super dead. This kind of start is so powerful. I really did underestimate Vexing Bauble. Pretty crazy card. They kept on top. It's a bad sign. I feel like this player crushes me every time with these crazy Mana Crypt starts. Yeah. Yep. I'm doing this in case I hit Mental Misstep. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't know. Just Mana Crypt and Mana Vault enabling PO. Yeah, I got nothing. I didn't F6 there because I didn't want to show them I had nothing, but I got nothing. Oh, Tolarian Academy. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's not bad. Pick a Thunder Trap trainer. Jesus. I think this matchup is like solidly Doomsday favored, but you know, I think PO has good hands that can beat it for sure. Stock up Manifold Key. How do I win this game? I don't feel like I have a good way to win this game. Thoughtseize. Okay. I think I want to brainstorm and try to get to the cards that I need because I want to cast Thoughtseize this turn. All right, well, these two cards are dead, so let's put those back. I didn't hit a land, and I didn't hit a demonic consultation, so that's not great. At least Thoughtseize does interact with my opponent. The problem is we know they already have a stock up. My opponent's hand is Snap, PO, DT, stock up. Force Misstep. They could have just cracked this bauble and misstepped me and then had Force up. I'm just gonna concede. I don't really care. It's not worth it. Okay, I'm gonna bring in Mindbreak Trap and Null Rod. And I'm gonna take out Island and a Flow State. I'm gonna take out Island and Flow States, 2 Flow States. I don't think I'm gonna bring in removal for like Oswald and stuff. If you wanted to, you could bring in, I guess Long Goodbye is probably better than Chain of Vapor. So I'll bring in Long Goodbye instead of Chain of Vapor. Chain of Vapor bounces like a Time Vault in play, which is something, but... all right, try again. Our hand did not beat on the play. Triple restricted card. Let's see what we can do here. We've got Street Wraith, Moxen, Force. I mean, it's not a great hand, I'll tell you that much. I don't even know that this is a good hand. I might just put this back. I'm just gonna mulligan this thing. This seems fine. I will just put away a Dark Ritual, and I will pass with Fluster, Force Consider up, and this Consider might be able to turn on Flow State. We'll see. Basic Island Mana Crypt. Brother! I need my opponent to stop... stop playing turn 1 Mana Crypts. Stock up? Alright, well that works pretty well for us. It's kind of the reason I let the Mana Crypt go, is because I was like, well, what are they going to play off of it? Stock up? That's fine. This is a matchup where you will feel the 2 Flusters versus 3 Fluster that the stock list will have. Definitely wish I had 3 Fluster here. Okay, so I'm looking for probably land. Though a cantrip into land is pretty good. Land. Question. Am I just casting a Flow State? Or am I waiting and considering? I think I'm just waiting. I don't think I need to cast Flow State here. There's a decent chance that I like pitch Flow State to Force as well. Saga Gaming with Mana Crypt. Okay. It's quite good against me. I'm on the clock. Especially the combination of Saga tokens plus Bobble off of Saga. This is only good if my opponent doesn't have another land. I don't think this is the card we're looking for here in this game. I'm gonna brainstorm. Should use my mana here. Not thrilled about these cards, and I mean, if there wasn't a Saga, I'd be really happy with these cards, but the Saga is gonna ruin my game here. Saga is really bad for me. Kind of looking for a fetch land off of this. It's just so slow, man. It's just so slow. Dark Ritual, Flow State, Thassa's Oracle. I'm just gonna let these go. I don't really feel like this is getting me anywhere towards what I'm trying to do here. I just don't have enough time. I just don't have enough time. Saga's gonna kick my ass. It's just gonna get a Vexing Bauble and make 2 5/5s and kill me. Saga's like one of the... Oh, God, they didn't have a second land. If I had played Null Rod, it would have worked. Feels like a risk I'm not allowed to take. Doomsday. So am I fast enough if I Doomsday? If I cast Doomsday, I go to 9. I take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. And then they bobble, so I don't have protection after. But they probably won't have protection after either. And then it's just Ancestral into Land Oracle with Thoughtseize backup, probably. Seems reasonable. I don't know that flow state like puts me in a better place here than just casting Doomsday. Just because of this Vexing Bauble coming off of Saga is like the real reason that I'm in kind of a pinch. Like I think we could play through Constructs, but not through Constructs plus Bauble. If I wait too long. They have Spell Pierce, really. Well, I'm gonna fight over this. Kind of wish I had taken the Null Rod because I wouldn't be in this position at all, but I didn't think my opponent would not have a land. All right, force backup, pitching PO. All right, I got nothing left after this. So if they have trap over the top or second force, then we're probably just dead. Right, exactly. We put our forces on the stack before they get turned off by Bauble. That is exactly the reason why we're making this play. And our pile is going to be Ancestral Recall. Fortunately, I can't really make a good pile against Spell Pierce, but I might throw like a fake Lotus in the pile to get my opponent to get Bauble. I guess it doesn't really help. What is my opponent thinking about? Like if you have another counter spell, surely you just counter because what else am I gonna do in this game? So my opponent is making, say, let's say 2 4/4s and getting a Bauble, and that's about the only thing I think we're allowed to play around. I have 3 open mana, so I can Ancestral into Thoughtseize, Time Walk, Oracle land or something. That's my first thought. I'm at 17 now, so I'm gonna be at 8. So I'm probably gonna be at 4. This needs a land probably in it. So if I go Ancestral and then I end up with 2 blue and a black off of these 3 cards, I don't think the second Oracle matters because I'll die. And I think if my Ancestral gets countered, I automatically die, right? So there's no reason to play around anything off that. So the only thing I should play around is probably Consigned to Memory, which I have Thoughtseize for. And actually, it actually has to be Thoughtseize. It can't even be like Flusterstorm because I have a Jet. So I could make my last card a fake out of some kind. I guess Oracle makes my opponent make a second construct, though. Yeah, let's not overthink it. I think we can't go Gush because we're expecting Bauble. So Ancestral Recall draws us into Oracle, Thoughtseize, land, and I go land, Thoughtseize, Oracle. Yeah, I mean, this seems fine. And then Oracle on the bottom. Thoughtseize. Oracle, land, ancestral. F6. I can yield into my next upkeep. I like how we played this out. We're in a hard spot, tough place. So yeah, if my ancestral gets countered, I just lose. So there's no reason to build out any contingency to that. It's just build my best pile with the thought that ancestral will resolve. And there's no pile here that beats Spell Pierce on Ancestral either, because I will, assuming that they get Vexing Bauble, there's no pile that beats Spell Pierce on Ancestral. Because I can draw 3, but I won't be able to make 2 mana, so. Now, if they don't get Bauble, then I could have theoretically baked in a Lotus into my pile so that I could beat Spell Pierce. But I don't think that makes sense. I think we should go under the assumption that my opponent is always going to get a Black Lotus here. Or, sorry. I mean, my opponent might not get a Bauble now because there's no reason to get a Bauble now. Because I didn't show them a reason. So maybe I'm supposed to put Black Lotus as my last card to make them get a Bauble. They got a Bauble anyways. I don't think Bauble does anything to my pile, so I was like, there's kind of no reason to get a Bauble. So if my opponent has Flusterstorm or Spell Pierce, they win this game. And I don't think there was anything I could do about it as long as they get a Bauble, so. Yeah, they have a Flusterstorm. Oh, crack Bauble. Looking for Force? Or do they have Force? They have Force. Pitching Consign. Close. I'm dead here, though. They had Consign, which we had beat. He says he had it, so the Bauble didn't actually matter. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's all we can do. I think we win everything. GG's. Yeah, I mean, game 1 we got vintaged. Happens. Game 2, we got really beat up by this saga. The only thing that I'm concerned about was maybe I should have kept the Null Rod on top. But the Null Rod on top is only good if my opponent doesn't have a third land. And we had no indication that our opponent didn't have a third land. Because if I do keep the Null Rod on top, and I mean, maybe it just gets Spell Pierced and I just doesn't matter anyways. And there's one less Spell Pierce, though. And maybe that's enough. But then I'm one card short, one card less deep in my deck, and maybe I don't get to put together my win, right? Because we drew into the Doomsday. Yeah, the thing is the Null Rod is just only good if my opponent has no land. If they have a land, then they can just make constructs, and it doesn't matter. So, I don't know. I don't think we did anything wrong here. I think we just lost. Okay, welcome to round 3. We're up against fellow streamer Alberto. Alberto did let me know that he is playing double Q right now, and he'll be playing a little slow. I appreciate the heads up. Alberto has been playing 4-color Frog, which is an Esper Frog deck that splashes red cards in the board for things like Hexing Squelcher. Let's see if I can show you so that people understand what we're playing against here. Stupid Cloudflare check has been really annoying. So this is just Esper Frog, except only 2 Bowmasters, only 2 Wastelands, 1 Stony in the main, some Flow States, and then in the board, there's 2 Hexing Squelchers and a Pyroblast. So that's what we're playing up against here. My hand is acceptable. Certainly not a good keep against like a deck that you need to force, but you don't really need to force Frog unless they play a turn 1 Frog. So turn 1 Ponder. Enable that flow state. And I'm going to play a little loosely here around Wasteland with only 3 Wasteland effects in my... only 2 Wastelands proper in my opponent's deck. So I think I'm not even going to bother fetching an Underground or a Basic Island. I think I'm just going to fetch a Underground Sea. Ponder. Thoughtseize, Oracle, Ritual. I have to take 2 of these if I take this. I kind of think I don't want any of these cards. I mean, I kind of want Thoughtseize, but I don't really want Thoughtseize. Because I'm going to try probably build out towards, like, Demonic Consult, probably. Just going to get rid of these cards. I don't think I want these cards. Ugh. I don't know that, like, Thoughtseize Ritual gets me closer to Consult Oracle. I guess, kind of. Maybe that allows me to DT in the same turn and get Lotus. Or I guess I have to get Consult still. Yeah, maybe I'm just supposed to take Thoughtseize Ritual. I don't know. I kind of want to, like, push towards lands. I kind of want to push towards an instant to turn on Flow State. I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know that... I don't really hate if you take Ritual Thoughtseize there. I just don't think I want to. My opponent played Volcanic. That's pretty funny. In their Esper deck. Gush is my 3rd land. That's not true if I get Wastelanded Sully. I drew the Oracle anyways. Yep, it's true. That is true. I'm going to cycle this Street Wraith. Okay. I'm going to DT for Force of Will. And then next turn I can Gush for my 3rd land. And this is a juicy little Spell Pierce target too. Got Forced? Perfect. Force Pitch Frog. Yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about, man. There's a reason that decks play less colors. Like, my opponent just pitched a Frog because their 4-color deck played Volk. Oh, man. Colors are not free. This is the beauty of Magic. The Esper Frog mana base is already bad. And you want to make another color in it. See, this is a kind of an example though of why we thought maybe Consider makes more sense than Preordain. Lots of sorceries. Blue flow state. Okay, well, force. That's why they force, because it turns on their flow state here. Makes sense. We don't have to go Oracle Consults. If we like Gush, we can go flow state if we really wanted to, but like if we draw land here, I might just cast flow state to try to get me to a force. I got fucking wastelanded. Oh, I feel like I have to Gush, which is awful. There's only 2 wastelands in my opponent's deck. To be fair, I have 2 underground seas, so it's not like fetching a basic island would have helped. If I Gush, I can't play Flow State on the next turn is the problem. And I'm going up to 8 cards in hand, and then going up to 9 cards in hand, and I'm probably discarding to hand size. Like, it's so bad. It's not the worst cards to draw. That one probably is, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we just discard Doomsday and a flow state. We discard Doomsday and a flow state, maybe. Or maybe we discard Doomsday and an Oracle. Probably not. But I guess we're casting flow states for the next 2 turns. Ugh. 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 Yeah, well, you're banned. I'm just gonna get rid of Doomsday and one of my... Man, I don't know. Is it one of my oracles or is it one of my flow states? I guess they're probably not hitting my yard, so I think it's fine to get rid of an oracle. Now we have, oh, they hit Jet. Now they can play Frog. Too funny. DT. I'm just flustering that. DT off Jet. Classic. I would recommend not making your Esper mana base worse. That's my recommendation. DT for the second Wasteland. True. Very true. So we get to untap and play Flow State, trying to hit a land and maybe another counterspell. Though it's kind of hard to hit a counterspell that, like, we don't have days in our deck. So it would have to be like Force and then draw a blue card on the following turn. This is the kind of matchup, though, that Flow State should be quite good in. Just letting you play a longer game plan. Consider... on the Flow State plan, looking for a land and a Force, I guess. If this gets pierced, it's fine. Okay, got negated. God, we are just... This is... We've cast 2 Flow States in this tournament, and both of them have been forced. Forced pitching Snapcaster. Yeah, that's fine. You got it. That's acceptable. We're 1 land off from Oracle Consult with Force backup. Must be good. It's a frog. That's fine. Don't care. This frog would have been very good on turn 1 or turn 2. Now I think it might be too late. It's still decent if I miss on this turn here, which is possible. But not super likely. Is there a fluster in this deck? No fluster. All right, I'm looking just for land, please. We are just unbelievably unlucky. Wow. Okay. I have some forces to back me up. Hopefully that's enough. Hopefully they don't draw into like Strip Mine or Wasteland here. We've gone through a lot of cards in our deck and we've only seen 2 fetch lands. Ancestral. I'm gonna force this, I think. I just can't let them draw a Wasteland here. All right, Frog's coming in. 2 cards in my opponent's hand. I still have Force Protection for Oracle Consults. I felt really good about this game until last turn's Flow State showed us no lands, and I drew no land. Glad we gushed. Imagine if we didn't gush. We'd be dead. Yo, Wasteland is so broken, man. It's that strong. Truly is. Imagine cutting 2 Wastelands for your deck so you can play Volcanic Islands. I'm just ribbing on Alberto. Actually, I'm a big Alberto fan, so. But yeah, I'm big on trimming colors, not on Wait, when's Mother's Day? Oh, I can't keep up too many days. Am I doomed? Okay. May 10th. Noted. Am I here May 10th? I should just put this in my calendar for every year. Is it on the same day every year? Mother's Day. No, not in 2027. What the? Why did it do that? Why is my calendar in 2027? No, not 2025 either. Oh my god. It's always the second Sunday? That's annoying. That's annoying. Mother's Day. Not. Okay. No, it just keeps going to 2027. I don't understand. All right, I'm exiting the stupid app. All right. I'll just have to remember. Chat, do you think we're drawing a land? Or, actually, I should paraphrase that. Do you think we're drawing an untapped land? Or do you think we're just trying to draw that Undercity Sewers? Not paraphrase, rephrase. What do I need to do? I just put mom in. Okay, I just put mom in. I think if you put the word Mother's Day in, it just like must trigger some kind of code exception. Alberto drawing Wasteland off Frog. It's pretty high probability as well. There is another Wasteland in his deck, so. You know, Wasteland is semi-restricted. You can only play 2 copies of Wasteland. Can you imagine? All right, what do we got? Okay, Underground Sea, pass. Hardcast negation up, land. Fuck. Excuse my language. I'm just trying to win, man. Lotus, maybe? Oh, I got Bowmastered? All right, it's fine. Probably I should consider it in response. Okay, there's my fetch land. All right, I feel like this is fine. Pitch Swords to Plowshares, 1 card in hand. Plays a second Bowmaster for an additional damage. That's fine. 6 damage. Draws 1 card from my opponent, and I have a force. So it has to be Wasteland. Low state. I just force it and win. Okay. This game got really scary for no reason at all. Okay. Nice win against Frog. I think that game win is entirely because my opponent played 2 Volcanic Islands in his deck and could not cast the Frog that he pitched to force it well. This game is 100% lost if my opponent just has a normal mana base. Okay, so what is our Frog? What does our Frog board plan here look like? Long goodbye, double fatal push. If the Volks were wastelands, we were also dead. Very true. Very true. So I kind of like long goodbye, fatal push, and binning like chain ritual +1. Yeah, it's fun to name like cool things, but it's also extra work. And there's like a couple good ones in the first like 10 options, so. Okay, I think my opponent says they finished their match, so now they're back for full time. I'm gonna just get rid of a cantrip, I think. Maybe 1 ponder over 1 consider, because consider I can at least cast when I want to. I'll just get rid of a consider. All right. So we are on the draw, game 2. We got 1 minute up on Alberto. This is 4-color Frog. Sideboard might be Hexing Squelchers. We'll see. Seems likely. Probably has a bunch of removal spells to cut. This hand seems acceptable. Okay. I'm gonna cycle a Street Wraith right now. Before Bowmaster comes online. I can draw Moxen and stuff, so. That's interesting. How much am I interested in doing that now? I think I'm interested in doing this now. Kind of makes my playing a fetch pretty bad, but. Like, if this trades for Spell Pierce, I think I'm pretty happy. Oh. That's the hand? Okay. I'll take the DT. Drew Wasteland off the top. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. It's crazy work. Sapphire by Lurrus, probably. Okay. I think I want to Street Wraith again. See if I can find some cards. I'm just wondering if I should try to hold the Lotus for a time where I can Fatal Push the Lurrus. Because I have some options here. Like, I can play Lotus, cast Ancestral off Lotus, and then if it gets forced or if it doesn't get forced, I can just use the extra blue mana and play Flow State. And it gets the forces out of my opponent's hands and leaves them with just a Lurrus. Seems pretty good. I mean, my Black Lotus could also get countered, but that's also fine, so... If it was negation, then I actually like this is just like Thoughtseize actually being great, right? Slash like Ataxian Probe style effects being really strong. Because if I didn't, I would never make this play if I didn't know my opponent's hand had Force of Will instead of like negation. But I think I actually really like just like casting Ancestral here. My opponent just counters it. My opponent doesn't counter it. That's fine too. It's fine too. So now I could go Dark Ritual in Doomsday. I guess we should just consider first to see if we find a force, because if we find a force, we win. True or false? Yeah, we have a winning line with a second of the consider. No, we don't have a winning line. Because if I have two considers, I do have a win here. But I don't. I have already played a land. So if I were to consider and hit a force, what's my plan? My plan is to just like make a good pile. I think that's probably fine. Is my plan still to Doomsday and just take the cards out of their hand? Or just like... The problem is like I'm going to overdraw no matter what if I use Flow State here. I think I'm going to consider. I don't know that this is correct though. On land. I like a land. So the question is, do I want to just like cast Flow State here and overdraw? Or do I want to Dark Ritual Doomsday and then we do not have a land drop? That's kind of why this whole thing has been kind of a tough turn. Maybe I should just consider again. Because if I do resolve a Doomsday this turn, my opponent just goes, what? Lurrus go, and I have a land drop, I can just make an Ancestral pile and it wins probably on the spot. I don't know. I could definitely buy different choices in this play. Their hand is Force, Flooded Strand, Lurrus. That's their exact hand. There's my Force. Okay, so if I just resolve a Doomsday here with Force backup, and then I just have to beat whatever they play off the top, I think that's fine. It's just an Ancestral pile, right? An Ancestral Lotus pile. This is fine. I think I'm okay with just putting the Doomsday on the stack and trying to win. Okay, so my opponent has a hand that's Lurrus Fetch Land. The things that could go wrong are Wasteland, but we're covered because we have a C in our hand. My opponent could have... They can't have Ancestral, right? They can have Ancestral. They can have Vexing Bauble. Let's see if that's true. No Vexing Bauble. They could have Pyroblast or a removal spell. They could have Consign to Memory. Consign to Memory, they have a couple copies of. So I want to build a hand that beats Counterspell on the next turn. So I already have a hand that's beating Wasteland. So my hand, the cards I should draw are Ancestral, Lotus, Oracle, and something else. Probably something after Ancestral that is good at if my Ancestral gets countered. So it's probably Ancestral, either Time Walk or Street Wraith, and then Oracle, Lotus, Oracle. If I get Wastelanded, I just win, so it doesn't matter. So it's just counter into counter. It's like negation into negation. So I think it should be Street Wraith. And I'm going to be at 6. So yeah, I think my pile is, I guess if they have Lurrus plus Fluster, I go to 6. I go to 3, and Street Wraith is still fine. I mean, we could put a Seize in the pile. I guess if they have a counter spell, if they draw counter spell, like 1 mana counter spell into another counter spell, I just lose. But if I do this pile, I have Ancestral, I have Street Wraith, I have Oracle. Because that would be a winning Oracle on the second turn. And then I have Lotus Oracle. I think that's fine. Last card, Oracle. Fourth card, Lotus. Third card, Oracle, Street Wraith, Ancestral. There's their land. There's a Volcanic. There's a Lurrus. And they have 1 unknown. Oh, I guess I lose to Ancestral with this pile. But I think I lose to Ancestral with any pile that starts with Ancestral and doesn't have like a mental misstep or something. This actually plays double Oracle here too if they have Consign, right? I guess if they had Consign, they could have consigned the Lotus, which would be fine. I'm not sure that was the best pile. Let me think about it again. I think that was like a good enough pile, but I'm not sure that was the best pile. There's some nice parts about this pile, though. Let's go back and look, though. I think I'd like to see like maybe a little bit more on this. It was a good pile versus counterspells. That was like the first thing I was thinking of. So let's just take another peek again here. I like how we play this game out in general. So I have this. How do I do this in a way that I can show chat both things? Does this work? This kind of works, right? Well, I'm pretty low life total, right? So we know my opponent's hand is Fetchland Lurrus. And so the cards that my opponent can draw that matter are Ancestral Recall, Consign to Memory, technically a removal spell, Mental Misstep, Spell Pierce, Wasteland, that's kind of the cards that matter. So with my land having already been drawn and Ancestral as my top pile, I cannot lose to a Wasteland. If my opponent draws a counter spell, my pile plays through a counter spell as the one card they drew with the Street Wraith underneath, but it does lose to like counterspell into removal or counterspell into consign. What if I had put a gush underneath? I think I'm always losing to like counterspells of some sort because I'm only drawing one card a turn. If my opponent draws consign on that turn, I ancestral and I lotus. They can consign my lotus, and it means I have to wait until the next turn to play an oracle, and so I have one chance at oracle. If they go for consign on oracle, then I just have two oracles that cast in the same turn. If they have removal, the Street Wraith actually covers me on the first oracle from removal, and I can play two oracles, like I said. So removal definitely doesn't do it with this pile. I don't know if there's a single one card that beats me, but I do think there are a series of 2-card draws that beat me. I think, no, the single one card that beats me is Ancestral. If my opponent draws Ancestral, I do lose with this pile. How can I beat that? I would have to put a Mental Misstep in my pile, and I would have to put it instead of the Street Wraith, which I think would be kind of silly. So I don't think that's a good play. And I don't think I'm supposed to go for like a gush because my opponent could easily draw Wasteland. So having an Ancestral pile makes sense. This looks fine to me. It doesn't cover like everything, but I think this is pretty good. All right, welcome to round 4, 2-1. We're up against Delver, who last published result is Dredge, but has recently played Sphere Shops and Raker Shops. So our hand has a force on the draw and a bunch of mana, so we're keeping. I think Dredge is a great matchup. I think Raker is a good matchup, and I think Sphere Shops is a challenging matchup. This hand is better versus the 2 Shops decks because it has a force, and worse against Dredge because Dredge. Ugh. Oh yeah, I mean, Fast Doomsday wins the game, so it solves issues in every kind of matchup. You'll find that casting and resolving Doomsday is in fact good. All right, here's a workshop. And what do we got? We have to be very... Okay, it is Sphere Shops. The good news is I do have a sideboard tech for Sphere Shops with Energy Flux and 2 Steel Sabotages. I think I have to let a Sphere go. If I want to play out this game in a meaningful way, I think that has to go. And what we'll do is we'll fetch basic island and play a Mox Jet and pass. That way we're still holding up a force. Though island does not build us to Doomsday very fast, but it will pay for 1, so it's not the end of the world. There will be no fast Doomsdaying here. It's a challenging matchup, especially on the draw, especially game 1. Spheres throw you off a ton. Wastelands throw you off a ton. If they play Scrawling Crawlers, those can be harmful. If they combine with different kinds of effects. Second Sphere. I think I'm just going to keep trying to play through this. Oh, they don't even have a follow-up land? That's quite interesting. One of the things I can do here, though, if there's like no clock from the opponent, is make slow Doomsday piles. I think a sapphire is fine. No thing else. Okay, I'm gonna go get a Undercity Sewers because I'm gonna start playing I'm gonna get rid of a Doomsday. I'm gonna start playing non-basics anyways. Another force. Currently it costs 2 mana to force. So your move, opponent. Okay, no, definitely Street Wraith right now. Because there's no way I'm ever... I should probably Street Wraith right now. Because there's no way I'm ever winning right after Doomsdaying with Street Wraith. So having access to double force or even like a cantrip or something this turn makes more sense. So I actually think I'm going to Street Wraith right now. And all we want in this game is to build out our mana base and cast a Doomsday and go and just make our pile with 2 oracles with a bunch of lands. Because my opponent's not pressuring us at the moment. They haven't had any more land since their workshop, and so they kind of locked themselves under the sphere resistance, which has been good for us. Don't know where opponent is. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna stop here and Street Wraith because I don't think I'm gonna be able to like combo off the Street Wraith in the Doomsday, and I would rather just be able to have access to like more forces or something. Next turn, I have a 5-mana Doomsday if I don't get Wastelanded. A Mana Crypt. That is mana neutral right now, so I think that's entirely acceptable. What if I force this? Kind of interested in maybe forcing this and trying to strand my opponent underneath their spheres. Over the next like turn and a half. This is force is especially good if they've been holding a wasteland. If they haven't been holding a wasteland, which I don't think they have been holding a wasteland, then it's less. But like it's pretty devastating for me if my opponent gets to wasteland me and then build out their mana and start casting spells every turn. Whereas if I counter this and they don't have a land, like they're stranded again for at least another turn and a half, and now I'm gonna cast Doomsday and I'm gonna build my pile that's just like Street Wraiths and Oracles, baby. And another Underground Sea, probably. Okay, they don't have a follow-up here, so... No, that's another Underground Sea. So will I... So the question now is... Do I bake in an Underground Sea into my pile so that I have the ability to trim my pile down even more? I am going to go to 7 life, so I can do as many as 3 Street Wraiths. And I am currently casting a 4-mana Oracle no matter what. So what does my pile look like? My pile could just be... My pile could be Wraith, Oracle, Chain of Vapor, and a land. It could be... I don't see any reason... I guess Time Walk lets us build out another land. It's like, I don't... Yeah. And there's no reason to play 2 Oracles. Time Walk is better, I guess, if they have a Scrawling Crawler. Which gonna go look at Sphere Shop's list real quick and see if I'm missing anything. I don't think I'm missing anything. It's just some amount of like rebuys and a land maybe. So if I go Underground Sea and I go Time Walk and I have an Oracle and I think maybe a Chain of Vapor helps cover me from some random thing and a Street Wraith, and then I draw Street Wraith, draw Time Walk into Oracle. But this chain doesn't matter though. Time Walk costs 4. If I get Wastelanded and Sphered, I can still cast it. All right, I don't know. Something like this is probably fine. I'm just like trying to figure out if it's better to like if something like crazy went wrong, is it better to have a second Oracle for some reason? I don't know. I feel like it doesn't help me, but maybe it's like just better than playing a chain. Like, what's a chain doing? This might just be the most like things going wrong proof. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I don't know if it matters either. Classic Doomsday. I have so many lands in my pile. Like, most of the ways you lose this are like not being able to cast your spells, like Null Rod into Wasteland, I guess. Another Sphere. Like Sphere Wasteland here, but it's not even enough, so I just play all my lands. Cool. Sweet. Good to get a game 1 win there. Definitely on the back of my opponent's Sphere locking themselves. Happens. I'm taking these cards in. You don't want Null Rod because they're just a Null Rod deck as it is. We can theoretically play a removal spell. Something like Long Goodbye kills Patchwork through Ward. So I might play just Long Goodbye as an option. And then I want all of my lands, and what I don't want are things like Probe, things like Misstep, things like Flusterstorm. Actually don't mind Thoughtseize. Dig Through Time is probably not necessary. Something like this. All right, now we are on the draw again for game 2. We know what opponent's up to, so we can mulligan based on that information. We're looking for a force. We're looking for a lot of mana. We're looking for a path forward. Seems reasonable. I will probably just probably won't cycle this Street Wraith because the Street Wraith represents a turn 1 kill with my current mana situation. If I draw Doomsday, Patchwork is fine. Lotus, okay. Lodestone? Mystic Forge. Is Mystic Forge fine? I I almost don't want to, like, I want to keep Time Walk. I want to keep Oracle because I have, like, outs into Consign. I don't think cycling Street Wraith is good here. Doesn't it eliminate most of my game-winning outs? I guess I have Time Walk already. So if I have Time Walk, I could theoretically use my Lotus on blue. So I guess I can cycle Street Wraith because I have so much mana. My hand sucks. I think I have to force this. Pitching Oracle. That's disgusting. I don't like this very much. Ponder. Consult. Force. Street Wraith. So I draw Force. So if I draw Force, can I win right now if I take Consult? No, because I used my blue mana. If I don't draw Force and I just take Street Wraith, I guess I don't need to because I have the Time Walk. I think I have to just take Force Consult and see how the game plays. The problem is I'm not actually sure that I'm allowed to Doomsday right away with the consults. I might have to wait for the Street Wraith. Depends on what my health total looks like. Now, obviously, we could hit our Oracle, but I don't know if we have a choice in the matter here. We have a lot of mana. And remember, they can always have Mind Break traps, so... Well, I think we have to. See. Is this a Stonecoil Serpent? Oh, I don't care. So, let's see. I take 4 and I go to 12. With Consult, I have Walk, and I beat everything that's not Mind Break Trap. As long as I don't miss on my Oracle. Oh, God. As long as I don't miss on my Oracle, I beat everything that's not Mind Break Trap. And it looks like they're F6'd. Wait, do I? Yeah, I Time Walk into Gush. Am I allowed to do that? Black, Dark Ritual, Consult, Doomsday. Yeah, I guess there's no reason I can't do that. There's kind of no reason to fetch first because my pile... No, there is a reason to fetch first. I need to be able to Time Walk. I think Sully's trying to kill me. I need to be able to Time Walk into Gush. I think Sully's trying to kill me. Man, Twitch chat. Crazy. I need to Time Walk into Gush. So I think I have to fetch. Sully tried to kill me there. Twitch chat is crazy, man. All right, Underground Sea. I'm just gonna go Crack, Dark Ritual. Oh God, they're not F6'd. Demonic Consultation. If they have a trap, I'm just dead. So I lost my second Oracle. It was one of my 6 cards on the top of my library. Super unfortunate because everything resolved after. Can I beat this with an Energy Flux and a Street Wraith? I don't think so. Should I scare them? Should I, like, Time Walk into Gush Energy Flux? There's just no way I can deal 20 damage. Super unfortunate. Let me see. If I go Time Walk into Gush... If I Time Walk into Gush... And then I Gush, drawing... If I Time Walk into Gush, and I Gush into... Oh, I lost Energy Flux, too. Never mind. I'm just going to put 5 cards and see if they concede a Time Walk. Also, they've already seen all those cards, too. All right, they didn't concede, chat. Damn. All right, on the play. I tried. All right, run it back. I don't know what my percentage there was to hit an Oracle before I hit a Doomsday, but it seemed like a decent enough chance. Here's an Energy Flux, 1 land and a Force. Seems fine. Probably am just naturally Street Wraithing to start this, just to get more information before I resolve Ponder. Let's see. Just don't want to hit any amount of lands here. I did say lands. I did say lands. I mean, I have to take this. Okay. I just did that so I could go through my file faster here. Wastelanded. Okay. All right, just looking for lands. Ancient Tomb. Mox. Sing Vovel. I have to force that. Pitch one of my oracles. And Sphere and Null Rod. That's fine. Null Rod is fine. Okay, consider not Gush. Dark Ritual. I've had a hard time hitting land drops, huh? Sphere. Probably should have to force that. Am I getting rid of Time Walk then? I mean, this might lock them out of playing. Did they play a land last turn? They played the Ancient Tomb. I think I just have to force this. Am I allowed to keep this? They didn't wasteland me. They didn't have a land. They could have a sphere. I think I'm supposed to fucking bin this shit. Oh, fuck. Oh! Yeah, okay. Well, at least I played correctly. I think, unfortunately, we're going to lose this game, though. We just didn't draw any lands, man. We cast a million cantrips and found no lands. I don't know. This is just unlucky, right? Like, I just have not found any lands off of all my cantrips. Oh, it's so sad. It's a tough matchup, though. What the? What the hell? This is the second game where I went 20 cards deep and found 2 lands. I don't know. I feel like I made the right plays and then just lost because of it. Or not lost because of it, but lost. We just simply never drew our land. I mean, that's why like, game 1 was so great, because we just had all our lands and we just played 7 lands out and won. I mean, I don't think we're supposed to play more lands in our deck than we already are, so I think it's just variance. Well, I don't know. All right, 2-2 now. Round 5. Tough matchup. Musasabi. He's been playing, best known recently for Raker Shop's innovations, but has been playing some Oath recently. This hand has a lot of mana, unfortunately. This is all the mana that we've been missing in the games where we keep losing because we have no mana. You do want to keep a Force versus Oath, but I think this hand is a little too light. I'm gonna mulligan it. I don't know that this hand is necessarily good, but I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna get rid of the Consider, I think. Oh, I was probably supposed to keep the Consider to try to get to flow state. I didn't think about that. Am I just dead? Demonic Tutor. Thoughtseize is my opponent here. That's not a good sign. Vamp in response? That's a horrible sign. Let's trigger your Wraith and see if I can hit a mental misstep. Okay, I'm gonna die. No, I mean, this could easily be an Oath start as well. I think I'm dead, so. Yeah, it's Oath. Oh, wait. Kind of a weak hand, actually. Kind of a weak hand, actually. So they're probably just getting against... I guess they can just get Oath. I will take the negation so they can't hardcast negation when they Oath me. And I have to try to win on the next turn here, but it's possible. If they went Orchard Oath, they won't have negation back up now. If they went for like Ancestral, then it's a longer game, right? Wait, they went Orchard Go? Interesting. Ancestral? No. Interesting. So I guess they just want to hold up and hardcast Force. I'm just going to cast Ponder. Nice. So there's my land and a Doomsday and a Fluster. Okay. So... if my opponent holds open... Wow, what a weird circumstance here. Where I kind of want the Fluster. But I don't have a 1 mana cantrip. I have a flow state. I think the answer is probably just try to win with Oracle Consult on the turn after and not worry about the flow state. Well, if they draw a blue card here, then they draw a blue card here. It's really bad for me. If I had just taken the fluster, could I just win with Oracle Consult? No, I'm not really close, right? I'm 1 mana off. Dark Ritual, Demonic Tutor down to 1 black. Gush. I guess I can still Gush. Getting Fluster, but I still need 1 more mana, right? I don't have enough mana. Tropical. This looks like the Oath. Oh, what? Are they show and telling an Oath into play? I think they're show and telling an Oath into play. Because there's no way they tutored Atraxa. There's no way they tutored show and tell. So I think they're just show and telling as a way of getting counterspell back up for their thing. So how do I best exploit this? I don't have a consult in my hand. I have a Doomsday. I could Gush in response. It doesn't really help me, though. Does an Oracle help me? I don't think any of this helps me. Is there any way I can exploit this? If I had gone Dark Ritual Demonic Tutor for a consult this turn, I would win. I would actually just win. So if we assume it's Oath, we have a whole ass turn. We know we're drawing Doomsday, and I have Lethal. So I guess it just doesn't matter, right? Because if this puts an Oath, they don't even have Force Up, and I have Dark Ritual Doomsday with Gush. There's no way they tutored for Atraxa or Show and Tell, right? Yeah, okay, cool. I win the game. My opponent trusts that I have a cantrip, which I do. I have a Gush. So what? If they just cast Oath with Force Backup, isn't that better? Like, surely it's okay if your Oath gets countered, right? Like, they're just fine. Like, they're fine. Or just like push through the Oath and hope I don't have the win afterwards. Like, if they had Force and they played this Oath and I had to go to my turn and I have to beat Force, I don't think I can do it. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to lose that game. Very confusing. I'm gonna bring in Trap, but I don't have Consigns, like I said, so none of these other cards play against Oath. So I'll just Trap for Island. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was supposed to lose that game, unfortunately, but got there. Like, I know why you do the show and tell. It's to, like, give yourself redundant oaths, right? But no duress. I have a Thoughtseize in my main. I think duress is a silly card to have. This hand's quite good. If I draw a blue mana a blue cantrip, I have a turn 1 win with force backup. Yeah, I don't know. I think they just outthought themselves there. So they just get to take my Dark Ritual, stranding my 2 Doomsdays anyways. Or they take my Force. If they take my Force, it's obviously better for me not to Force. But if they take my Dark Ritual, isn't it really bad for me? I think I'm just going to force this and play to my Doomsday. Pearl-go. There's my consider. So I technically have a win here if they don't have a force, but I don't know how greedy that is. Ah, they had mental misstep. That's pretty fucking good. So my plan here, if I was to resolve it, would be Dark Ritual Doomsday, Lotus, Street Wraith into Lotus, Consider into Ancestral, Ancestral into Sapphire, and then play Oracle. Am I allowed to Street Wraith now? I think so. Okay. Mental Misstep is a killer card against our deck. It's very, very strong. Ancestral? Ponder. Okay. I wonder if they're playing flow states. Oath with 4 flow state, 4 Stonka, 4 Ponder? Maybe? And an Oath Orchard here? Brutal. Alright. Not much I can do there. And a Lotus. And a Crack Lotus for Time Walk? Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. That's a good one. Let's see what this Atraxa leads us to here. They got a force off the Atraxa. I'm out of here. Okay. Game 3. Dark Ritual, Gush, Force, Dig. Yeah, it's fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Okay, what are we doing? Underground Sea. Black Lotus. Okay. Oko. I don't think I'm allowed to fight over Oko. I think I'd Elk if I was my opponent to take me off of black mana. They're going Bug Control. Turn 1 Oko. Time Walk. Sure. I'm 1 card short of digging. I could cast Dark Ritual, hard cast Gush. I don't really want to lose any of my lands. I think I might just do that. It gets negated, but I think it's better than letting them have a mana. I guess I have Dark Ritual, hard cast Force as well. Yeah, but I think running my dig into the first counter spell seems bad when my dig is going to cost me 2 mana at some point anyways, right? I guess I can just wait on this Gush and hold up Hardcast Force. So if they elk my freaking Jet, start losing out on mana. Yeah, I guess I should be patient here. I don't think I'm supposed to like go crazy when I have technically a spell that can cost 2 and a spell that can cost 0. All right, coming in hot. Like I want to Gush next turn if I don't hit a land drop, right? So don't think I want to Gush with my tap land though. Time Walk is really annoying. I increase the clock by a lot. Whatever. We are running out of time. But I mean, our next turn's quite good, so. All right, 13. Next turn I take 6. Lotus. Blue, blue. Gosh. Is this bad for me if this gets countered? Should I have played out my Lotus to hard cast a force? I guess I can still do that off ritual if I want to. It's not bad. Sapphire. Okay. So I'm gonna play everything first. Build out our mana. Cast a Ponder. Ancestral. Oracle Consider. Okay. Ancestral myself. Mental misstep. Okay, I think I'm gonna go Dark Ritual Dig. I don't think I need Gosh and Time Walk. I think the Ancestral should be enough. Okay, what does this get me? Nothing. I think got me a force, a blue card. So I want to take. I'm only going to have an instant in the yard after this. I mean, I could just take Thoughtseize Flow State, let everything get countered, go Thoughtseize Flow State. But I kind of think I want 3 unknown cards here. So if I mean, I could even hard cast Force if I wanted to. I have all this open mana. I could crack my Lotus and hard cast Force, leaving me with blue-black. So hard. I have no idea. I mean, I only get 2 cards. I can't cast Thoughtseize and Flow State if I hard cast Force, because I only have 7 mana. I also just like don't know how good Thoughtseize even is. Like, what do they have left going on over there that matters? What if I just like take Flow State, Consider, and then I just pitch cast Force on the misstep? I mean, if they had Veil, they would have already Veiled. I'm gonna take the 2 cantrips. I think I'm gonna just hard cast Force. You don't have to cast Veil in response to the counterspell. That's not a requirement. Okay. Ancestral looks like it's resolving. They have fucking Commandeer? Maybe I'll hit my own misstep or something. Doomsday. Just hope they hit nothing and go for the win. Though I don't have Gush anymore. I'm fucked. I'm so fucked. I don't have Gush anymore. So Flow State Doomsday doesn't even win. Flow State Doomsday does not even win because I don't have Gush. Ah, shit. I got to bin this. Street Wraith. I guess so. That couldn't have turned out worse. These mental missteps were so strong. They have a lot of dead cards, so I go to 4 here. This Flow State has to do something silly. I just draw all my lands now. Hardcast Force is available. I feel like this was just like such bad variance. I mean, I could have definitely played this more conservatively, but I don't know. Oracle Ponder. Oracle Consult would have worked. Ponder's Oracle doesn't even block and win because my opponent drew a Mox. I got nothing. I'm drawing to nothing. I'm drawing to absolutely nothing. I don't know. Was that me? Was that my fault in that game? Commandeer, huh? They didn't commandeer my dig through time? I mean, I could have taken Force blue card. Could have taken Force blue card and I could have gone hard cast force on mental misstep, alt cast force on commandeer. But then I just am I'm just like resolving a blank ancestral, I guess. I don't know. It felt like it was more likely that I was supposed to take 2 action spells. I don't know. I didn't think they had a commandeer in hand. I'm not gonna lie to you right now. I didn't think they had a commandeer in hand. I feel like taking a force blue card feels too weak. You know? How can you let dig resolve? What if I draw Flusterstorm, man? Isn't that crazy? Like what do you like? How can you let dig resolve? I just can't believe they let dig resolve. My dig was so weak. I guess it wasn't. I could have gotten force off of it, but I don't know. I didn't think they had a. Am I supposed to think that they have a counterspell after all that? I mean, I think you're still supposed to go for it because, like, if you dig, like, the percentage chance I hit a Flusterstorm is like insanely high, right? Like, if I have 2 Flusterstorms and I'm looking at 7 cards, if I have 3 Flusterstorms and I'm looking at 7 cards, like, I don't. I mean, I can miss. It's true, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I did a lot of actions on that turn just to lose, which is pretty sad. I guess we can go look at it. Yeah, I think you're taking Fluster. Yeah, I do think you're taking Fluster if Dig resolves. Fluster is like one of the single best cards in that spot, is it not? Like in the game in general? Like isn't Fluster like nuts? The storm count is 6. We have the possibility of Mindbreak traps and stuff on the stack. Oh, I think Oko put exactly as much pressure as I thought it would apply. It's just like I kind of went through 30 cards again and didn't find a kill, right? I don't know. I guess maybe they're just trying to get Doomsday with their commandeer, and they're just trying to hold for Doomsday. Yeah, I mean, I can take Force here. I can take Force Flow State with no sorcery. I can do that. Storm count is 8. I'm just like pretty concerned that like resolving Ancestral isn't good enough to win the game. You know? Like I don't even know that Ancestral is that like I don't even know that this Ancestral is better than Dig Through Time. Like I actively think that Dig Through Time is probably a better card than Ancestral here. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely always taking Fluster in this pile if there's a Fluster. Like, I get to take, like, Fluster Flow State if I keep this, right? Hell, I might take Fluster... Yeah, Fluster Flow State. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I don't know. I could have taken force. Am I supposed to take force? If my opponent is left, say the opponent has a force in their hand, like, aren't I kind of trying to play, like, if my opponent has a force in a hand and I keep consider flow state and I hard cast force on misstep and they force back, isn't it like way better for me if I have consider and flow state rather than pitch cast force to make my ancestral resolve? Because at that point I have consider can hit a sorcery and then flow state was turned on. Isn't that better? Like, if my opponent has force of will, I feel like my line is better. But if they have commandeer, it's definitely worse. Yeah, because my line plays to a possible force in their hand pretty well. I get to continue to, like, with 2 cantrips on my next turn to try to play through the game. Okay, I think this was, I don't know. I think this was fine. I think that's just getting commandeered. Okay, unfortunately, our 6th and final round opponent did not show up to our match, so we have the win. So we end up with a 3-3, so a 2-3 with a bye. Let's talk about our cards. Do we think Thoughtseize was good? I thought Thoughtseize was quite good today. I think the Thoughtseize was the best choice we made. It did a lot of work in the matches we had it, so I'm pretty happy with the Thoughtseize. The Considers didn't really come up in a meaningful way, but I don't think they were, like, significantly worse than Preordained at any point. I would probably run back Consider again just to see how it went. Let's see. The sideboard, everything seemed fine. Like, I think we have the right kinds of cards in our sideboard. I'm not really too sad about it. So that leaves us with the actual matches themselves. We played 5 rounds. Our first round was... What was our first round? Our first round was a 2-0 versus Oath. Yeah, I think this Oath matchup is good. That was a pretty clean 2-0. Nothing crazy to say. Then we played against Esper, Lurrus Vault Key thing. And we got kind of bullied in game 1, and then game 2, I think we made, like, good piles, but it didn't work out. There was one more counter spell over the top. I couldn't do much about it. The Urza Saga was incredible there, which has always been true. Urza Saga is very good. Alberto, we were able to beat mostly because of Alberto's deck choices. I think the games would have been quite tough if Alberto didn't have Volcanic Island in play, preventing him from doing Frog. So that's not the case. We had a tough battle versus Sphere Shops. We put ourselves in a high percentage chance to win, but we milled over our card with Consult and lost. And then we just didn't draw lands in game 3. And then up against Musasabi with the other Oath matchup. Yeah, I think it is what it is. So I don't think there's, like, too much takeaways. This was kind of just kind of a not super interesting challenge in terms of the games and the choices. We had a couple cool piles and a couple decent navigation spots, but I wasn't, like, thrilled by anything that happened during this event, and that can happen. You know, magic is magic. So a 3-3, which is definitely below rate for me, but good practice with Doomsday. Like I said, I think Doomsday is an incredible deck, especially in Vintage currently. If Frog is not an overwhelming portion of the metagame, I think this deck is very good against decks that are not Frog. And then it does seem like Flow State kind of helps versus Frog. You know, theoretically, it makes a lot of sense that this card would help versus Frog. So, yeah. I don't think you need 4 Flow State. I still think you could, like, say, trim 2 Flow States and go into some of your missing flex slots, like the 3rd Flusterstorm and a Treasure Cruise, maybe. But I also don't know that I want to cut any of the Flow States either yet. I still want to keep playing with 4 and seeing how it goes. I don't really even have like suggestions on sideboard changes. Like, I don't think you're supposed to, like, disrespect Dredge and not play these cards. And then if you are playing these cards, then it's, like, very hard to fit in more than I already have. 4 removal spells of various types. 2 Null Rods, because I think you need to respect Jewel and Raker. And then the Splash, Sabotage / Energy / Sabotage does help for those matchups, as well as give you solid outs to that Sphere decks. And like I said, I played the Energy Flux as a individual target for the Sphere Shops matchup, and we had it in the Sphere Shops matchup, but it didn't come in, like it didn't end up mattering. So like you could play something like more flexible in this slot. You could also consider playing like Consigns instead of Steel Sabotages if you are wanting to target Raker more, because you can counter Tezzeret with that. But I think Steel Sabotage being able to bounce Sphere resistance can be important. So, or even just like buy you a turn by bouncing an attacker. Those are my thoughts. I expect I will play some more. I expect to play some more of this deck on the channel in the future. We have five or how many weekends do we have before NYSE? I will be away on one of them to play some paper vintage. But I will probably play the Friday stream anyways. And then the first weekend of June. So we've got we got 4 weeks here to work on decks that will be playable for NYSE. Like I said, I'm going to be looking at Doomsday, and I'm going to be looking at Lurrus PO. And those are my front runners for sure. I would much rather play Lurrus PO than play Frog. So there's kind of no chance of playing Frog, even if I think Frog is a solid choice. And then I will also always consider some of the more volatile choices if I think they line up perfectly into a metagame. And I think the metagame is kind of shifting around recently. I'm not exactly sure where it will land in 4 weeks. I do seem to think like Flow State is changing things. And we're going to have to keep an eye on if Flow State pushes, you know, Frog deck's matchup spread in a way that is really powerful. That's the thing we want to keep an eye on in the next few weeks. Thank you for watching more vintage content on this YouTube channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll see you then.